Good morning. We are extremely pleased that you are here. It is good to come together for the purpose of co-creating. Do you agree?
Yes.
You're knowing what you're wanting? Mostly? Mostly? We have to ask, are you enjoying the expansion of your desire?
Yes.
Well, that matters a lot, doesn't it? Because when you say yes to that, that means that you're sort of keeping up to speed with the evolution of your desire. If the gap gets too wide between what you're asking for and your expectation of it, then the answer to that question is usually, no, I was happier before I wanted this thing I don't believe I can have. But when you say, yes, I like the expansion of my desire, that means you're right on track. That means you are becoming, or maybe you are really an expert at deliberate creating. Deliberate creating really is vibrational awareness and then vibrational control, which means it's focusing your thoughts deliberately. Do you do that? Sometimes. Most people focus their thoughts around something that's happening. So if they're standing in an environment where the things that are happening feel good to them, then their focus on what they're observing is good for them. But if they are observing something that makes them feel uncomfortable as they observe it, makes them afraid or angry or agitated in some way, then their attention to this thing that they're observing is causing an activation of a vibration within them that is not serving them. But most people do not have any awareness that they are vibrational beings, because you are, as humans, so good at interpreting vibration, you don't know you're doing it. Everything you see is a vibrational interpretation. You have a mechanism that does the interpreting, and it happens at an unconscious level, so you don't know you're doing it. Even what you smell or taste or feel with your fingertips or hear, all of that is vibrational interpretation. So when we get together with you and we know we have your attention, we always like to talk about the vibrational being that you are and the vibrational reader of your emotions, because we want you to understand in every moment what you're doing vibrationally, because that really matters. You are vibrational beings whether you know that you are or not, and you live in a vibrationally based universe whether you know that you are or not. And law of attraction is responding to your vibrational offering whether you know that it is or not, and everything that's happening around you and to you and near you and with you is because of the vibration that you're offering. You have so much more control of what goes on around you than most humans even try to exercise. And so this is a gathering that at one time we were calling the science of deliberate creation, because we really wanted you to pay attention to what you were thinking about and think more purposefully, get the momentum of your thoughts going deliberately, think on purpose, and therefore feel purposefully, feel on purpose. But as we watched you for a while, we noticed that the idea of deliberate creation was making you approach your life, as you so often do in your action orientation, of trying too hard, of getting hold of a problem and trying to wrestle it to the ground and kill it. And in doing so, in the defining of the problem, or in the awareness of the problem, or in the trying to overcome the problem, in the looking for the solution by getting rid of the problem, without even meaning to, you were activating the problem all the more. So the harder you tried, the worse it got. The more you wanted to solve the problem, but the more you activated the problem itself, and the greater the struggle seemed, which fit right in with the way most of you were thinking even before you were in contact with us. Because most humans, somewhere along their path, have been encouraged to believe that you're here to prove something to someone who is very picky about what you do. Also, somebody who changes their mind really, really often about what's right and wrong, And so you become a mass consciousness that's scrambling around trying to please or prove to something that you can't really define, that you can't really get your thoughts around. So we want to help you to understand that you are source energy. You're in these magnificent physical bodies. You came from non-physical. And while you were non-physical before you came into these physical bodies, you still are, for the most part, predominantly that non-physical consciousness. You just are. But that's hard for you to know because you have come into this personality, and the awareness of what's going on here, what you're observing, is so dominant, so pressing. It's so real, you call it reality. Well, this is the real world. So the non-physical world from which you have come, and this non-physical world where the larger part of you still is focused and still is projecting from, is largely gone unnoticed to most of you, except that you feel emotions all day, every day. You do, don't you? And those emotions are something that is vivid within you because the emotion that you feel is your vibrational indicator of how you're doing in relationship with who you really are. This non-physical part of you has a perspective. You could say an opinion. You could say an expectation. This non-physical part of you, this God force within you, has very clear understanding. So when you are thinking something and you've got a little momentum going on the thought, you can feel the resonance with source regarding that thought, or the dissonance. We've been calling that the allowing of the allowing of you being who you are, or the disallowing. We've been calling it allowing, resistance, good feeling, bad feeling, resonance, dissonance, alignment, not alignment. So as you begin to realize that you've got this guidance within you that doesn't just sometimes come along and let you know that you're on or off the track, it's always in every moment available to you if you're paying attention. So that's really what we want to talk about in the hours that we are together today. We want to awaken within you your realization that you are an extension of source energy, and that we are all in this together, and that while you've come into this physical body, you've come with deliberateness. You've come with an intention to explore the variety, to come to your personal opinions about your own personal expansion. You get to decide what you like and where you would like to go. You get to choose the expansion, every detail of your life experience. But you come on a trajectory of well-being. You didn't come proving yourself. You didn't come to fix something that was broken. You didn't come to make up for something that you didn't get right before. We don't know where you get that screedness. You came as powerful creators in an environment that you knew would stimulate personal preference within you, with the intention of honing those preferences within the trajectory of this pure positive energy being that you are. In other words, you came as a lover, not as a hater. When you feel hate, that's dissonance from who you really are. You came as someone who knows your worthiness and value. And when you're hard on yourself, that's dissonance from who you really are. You came expecting things to go well for you. And when you are pessimistic about your life or others, that's dissonance from who you are, you see. So this guidance has always been within you. But you've gotten so used to feeling negative emotion that some of you have accepted as a sort of lifestyle. And we want you to get over that. We want you to care so much about the way you feel that you become one who is particular about what you think in the way you're particular about what you eat. We don't see you going to the buffet and saying, yeah, I had that before and it was awful. Give me more. Every time I get that, I just hate it. It's just a horrible experience, but please give me more. We don't do that because you care about how it tastes in your mouth, and you care about how it feels when you digest it. You care about what you eat, and we want you to care about what you think, because we want you to care about how you feel, because we want you to care about your alignment with source, because we want you to stand in your physical body, posed out here on the leading edge of all that is, in full allowing or resonance with the whole of who you are, so that when you're having a conversation with someone, all of you is there. And you can tell when all of you is there because you're eager and your timing is good and you're having a really good time and you're appreciating the others and you're appreciating yourself. That's how you know that all of you is there. But if you feel agitated, or if you feel envy, if you feel competition, if you feel uneasiness of any kind, then you're pinching yourself off from that source who is there with you. Even though that source is there with you, you are pinching it off. Even though that source is there with you, you are pinching it off. Even though that source is there with you, you are pinching it off. Even though that source is there with you, we're trying to make a point here, you're pinching it off even though that source is here with you. And the thing that we so want you to understand is that the reason, if you can hear this, then you'll have it all. Oh, never mind. The reason that you can feel negative emotion at all is because source is there with you and you're pinching it off. If source were not there with you, then you wouldn't feel any dissonance in not lining up with it. But since you are a vibrational being with this relationship with your source, not just the source that was before you came into this physical body, but the source that you in this physical body is helping to evolve. You see, humans sort of have a screwy take on that. Source, God, whatever you want to call it, you think all done, all perfect, now watching me to catch up. And we say nothing like that. Source flowing to you and through you, reveling with the new things that you define. So here you are in your physical body, sorting through all of this, knowing what you don't want often, which causes you to clarify what you do want. And every time there's a personal clarification emanating from you, whether it is from your conscious mind or whether it is cellular, every preference that emanates from you is known by source, is received by source, is held in vibrational alignment with source, so that you will have the opportunity, if you choose to eventually find alignment with it too, and experience the expansion that your diversity has helped you to carve out. Did you follow that? Source holds the new idea even when you're not ready for it. In other words, when you know what you don't want, you're asking for what you do want. But if somebody asks you what you want, you're usually at that point in the game going to tell them what you don't want. I really don't like this. This shouldn't have happened. We're beating the drum. This should not have happened this way. So as long as you're still focused upon the problem, you know, the problem and the solution are very different frequencies. So as long as you're still focused upon the problem, you're disallowing the solution, but the source within you is there with the solution. And that's why you feel negative emotion. When your source, that larger part of you, is solution-based in this moment, and you're problem-based, you feel the discord. You see what we're getting at? So when you begin to understand, to really pay attention to the way you feel, now you have the opportunity to know how source feels. It's sort of like, well, I know how source doesn't feel because this emptiness that I feel is me pinching myself off from source. So what might I think to soothe my emptiness in order to allow me in closer proximity with the vibration of source, with the vibration of the answer, with the vibration of the solution? You are vibrational beings, and you just have to feel your way into vibrational resonance. We've been saying to you for a while, have you been listening to us for a while? That you create your own reality. Those words were coined by Jane Roberts. She was receiving Seth. You create your own reality. And Jerry said, that's good. How? Because you all like the idea of being in control of your own reality. But how is it that it happens? And the answer to that is, you are emitting a vibrational signal that for the most part you're not yet in control of. So you're not really creating your own reality on purpose. You're creating your own reality because you're just observing things and offering a vibration and then getting more. That's how law of attraction works. So when you are looking at something wanted, you are including it in your vibration. When you say yes to it, you're including it in your vibration. When you talk about why you want it, you're including what you want in your vibration. You're finding resonance with that, and the source within you will join you in that fully. But when you're talking about what you don't want, you're finding resonance with that. There's no exclusion in this attraction-based universe. So when you say, no, I do not want that, you are a vibrational match to the very thing that you do not want. And the negative emotion that you feel is letting you know. There's discord within you because you're lining up with what you don't want. Law of attraction is bringing you more and more of what you don't want, you see. So we want to talk to you about vibration. Are you at the point that you can stand hearing about it? You are vibrational beings. And now that you are willing and comfortable with talking about vibration, we want to remind you that vibration is everything. And that law of attraction is the engine behind it. So when you give your attention to something, wanted or unwanted, for as little as 17 seconds, another thought like that joins it, and momentum is on the way. Do it for another 17 seconds and there's more momentum, and another 17 seconds and there's more momentum. You cross the 68-second mark and there is a lot of momentum, enough that you are having a manifestation of emotion within you. A manifestation of emotion. Don't you think it's fair to call emotion a manifestation? Since you feel it, it's visceral. You can really feel it. You can feel it. Esther knows she's in the wrong movie when she's got her jacket over her head. Emotion, you see. So as you begin to realize that you have this guidance within you that's letting you know, and this is really the subject of this day that we most want to help you to feel and know, because it is the subject at this part of your evolution that will serve you the most. We want you to teach yourself about the momentum of thought, because thought is a very powerful thing, and thought that is in alignment with the source within you is more powerful than we have a reasonable way of explaining to you. Every thought is powerful. When you find resonance with unwanted things, you pinch yourself off from your source. You disallow the goodness that is your true trajectory, and that's why it feels so rotten while it's happening to you. But compared to resonance with source, dissonance with source is not that powerful. When you find a way to hook up with this energy of source, and you practice yourself into a chronic experience of that, you will begin witnessing universal forces and what humans call coincidences and luck and chance. You will then begin to discover that things are really working out for you. There's a leverage in alignment that just is not available to you in any other way. So as we've been visiting with you for a long time, we told you that you create your own reality. And then we said your thoughts are very attractive. And then we said it's important for you to pay attention to what you're thinking about. And then we said to you, when you know what you don't want, you always know what you do want. So why not begin thinking about what I do want part of it rather than what I don't want part of it? And you said, Abraham, go away. I don't want to listen to you anymore. Because while in theory that is nice to think about, in practicality it's not the easiest thing to do if there's plenty of momentum going. If you've been practicing a thought, that's what a belief is. A belief is just a thought you keep thinking. So by the time you've thought something long enough that you believe it, and after all, why do you believe it? You're not dummies. Why do you believe it? You're not believing it because it hasn't proven itself to you. In fact, the opposite is true. You believe it because it has proven itself to you. Esther argued with us, Abraham, but it's true. It's true. Why would you tell me not to think about that thing that is true? And we say there are a lot of things that are true that you want, and there are a lot of things that are true that you don't want. We'd pick between them, just like the food buffet. We would choose between them. So as we visit with you here today, we want to talk about this momentum, and we want to bring you to the place of really understanding that when you are in vibrational alignment with who you really are, when you've practiced yourself into that vibrational frequency so that you are predominantly there, that's when you actually begin to live your life in the powerful, co-creative way that you've intended. That's when true, life begins for you in the way that you planned. That's when you really get on the trajectory that you intended when you made the decision to come here to begin with. So over time, we said to you, you create your own reality and you get what you think about whether you want it or not. And then we began to explain to you that when you know what you don't want, you launch a vibrational rocket of what you do want. Now that was never a very satisfying conversation for you, because we're talking about rockets that you can't really see going into what we began to describe as the vortex. Oh, that was fun. The vortex of creation. It was such a good concept, such a good way of explaining to you. We wrote a whole book about your vortex, saying to you, get into your vortex, get into your vortex. Because when you've launched a rocket about what you want, and you've done it and done it and done it and done it and done it, there is a reality, a vibrational reality that is ready to reveal itself to you in full manifestational form. But you've got to be a vibrational match to what you're asking for. If you're asking for more money, you can't feel not enoughness and realize the money that you've got lined up for yourself. You see how that works? So we began talking to you about this vortex of creation, and many of you resonated with it. You got the idea of it, that there is a vibrational reality that is in place before there is a manifested reality. But it's hard for you to make that jump in most cases, because you are so accustomed to translating things visually and auditorially and with your nose and your fingertips and your tongue. You're so good at that when we talk about a vibrational reality that you cannot see and that you cannot hear and that you cannot smell or taste or touch, it wasn't as real as you wanted it to be. And then we began to explain, but you can feel your way into it. When you're happy, you're there. When you feel elation, you're a vibrational match to what's in there. And if you can keep it up, if you can keep the momentum going in the direction of what you want long enough, and it's not that long, if you can hold yourself in vibrational steadiness with who you really are and what you really want, a momentum will ensue that will be realized by you in full manifestational form, so that in time, everyone around you will be able to witness the manifestation that has moved from the vibrational reality into what you want to call reality. You don't want to call it reality until you can sleep with it or spend it or eat it or live in it or drive it. In other words, we get it. You want it to be about your spaces and faces and places. We get that. But we want you to understand, we've said this to you for so many years, on so many occasions, that everything that everybody wants, no matter what it is, whether it's a material object or a relationship or a state of being or a pile of money, a circumstance, an event, everything that everybody wants is for the singular reason that you believe you will feel better in the having of it. And we want to remind you here today that not only will you feel better in the having of it, we can't even find words to explain to you how glorious clarity is, how wonderful it is to be chronically connected to this stream of well-being. So now we have another way of explaining it to you. So the vortex, which is the vibrational reality, which some of it you're allowing yourself to live and some of it not, this vortex has enough in it to keep you busy for 20 or 30 lifetimes. So if you can relax and expect good things to come to you, then more of the things that you've defined begin to flow specifically into your experience. It's such a nice thing. So we began describing to you that you've got to prepare yourself for the content of the vortex to reveal itself to you. You've got to be on the same vibrational wavelength. If you set your radio dial on 101 and expect to hear something that's being broadcast from 98, you don't hear it, do you? The frequencies have to match up. So your vortex is set on a high frequency. If you set yourself on a lower frequency because you're mad at that guy or irritated about that or disappointed about that or lonely about that, you have lots of reasonable excuses. We just don't think that you should argue for them so much. So as you hold yourself in vibrational difference from the vibration that is in your vortex, then you disallow yourself the full manifestation of it. So we began talking about your point of attraction. What is your point of attraction? What is your right now, in this moment, in every moment, relationship with what you've created, with what's actually in the vortex? Well, you can tell by the way you feel what your relationship is, but you can also tell by how things are turning out for you. So we began describing this vibrational grid. It's like a vibrational state of being that will fill in with all of the details. It's like the framework of a house. First the framework goes up, and then eventually they put the roof on and the walls go in and more detail comes to it. But initially there's a sort of a grid-like structure, and we want you to be aware that you've got this grid-like structure going on all the time that you have control over, that most of you have not been exercising your control as much as you can, or even hardly at all, because you've been observers of things rather than determined that you're going to prepare a grid, a point of attraction that matches what's in your vortex. So as we began describing this point of attraction, this grid, reminding you that your emotions are your indicator of really where your grid is. So if you recall the conversations that we've had about the emotional scale, where there is despair or powerlessness, and there is revenge, and there is frustration, and there's hopefulness, and then there's love and eagerness and all of those things that feel so good, appreciation. So this emotional scale, we want you to now superimpose over this emotional scale of not feeling good to feeling really good, these spinning discs, your point of attraction. So Esther began thinking to herself, what disc am I on? She'd say to someone, I'm on the ornery disc, so you might want to stay away. But the truth of it is, no one can stay away because law of attraction is so powerful, especially if there's momentum going. So what really happened is, even though Esther said, stay away, I'm ornery, really what happened, other ornery people joined her on her disc. And then when they would get there, she would say, you're really ornery. I really don't like you being here. And they would say to her, well, you're ornery too. I really don't like you being here. But here we are, ornery together, just like law of attraction says that we must be. So if you really want to know what disc you're on, just look around. If there are ornery people around you, that's your disc. Because they're not getting on otherwise, you see. They cannot defy law of attraction and jump on, oh yeah, I was on a high flying disc. I was doing so good. I was just soaring, and then you showed up. No, that's not really what happened. No, I was worried about you showing up. I remember the last time you showed up. I was tensing against you showing up. I was remembering how much I didn't want you to show up. I was shouting, no, don't show up. And then you showed up. That's really how it happened. In other words, law of attraction is a very powerful thing, you see. And so Esther started having fun with these discs. She said, Abraham, it's like the 7 dwarves. There's the happy disc, the grumpy disc, the passive-aggressive disc. She's up to about 200 dwarfs now, as she's finding all kinds of places in this range of emotions. But so we want to call your attention to your point of attraction. That's really what we want to talk about. Because if you will take it upon yourself as your conscious responsibility to choose the disc that you're on, and then stay there deliberately by thinking about things that make it easier and easier for you to stay there, then you're going to start rendezvousing with more and more that makes it easier to stay there, until you will have a momentum going that will keep you chronically, usually, often, most often, on this high-flying disc. It's really, really wonderful to be on the high-flying disc, tuned in, tapped in, turned on, feeling clarity and passion and love and appreciation. Your view of the world from the high-flying disc is the view of the world that the source within you holds. That's who you're rendezvousing when you rendezvous on this high-flying disc. You're rendezvousing with source, and that's why you're so clear. That's why you're so funny. That's why you're so knowledgeable. That's why you feel so good. That's why you have so much vitality. That's why you feel tuned in, tapped in, turned on, because you are, you see. So as we begin talking about your grid, your point of attraction, your discs, your high-flying disc, we know that sometimes it's not so easy because of past momentum. You got some things you've been thinking about, and some of the things that you really believe put you on a lower flying disc. It's hard to watch television and stay up there, because much of television, much of the media has discovered that there are more of you on those lower discs. And since they're looking for ratings, they hang out where most of you are. So if you're tuning in, then if you weren't there when you tuned in, you will be pretty soon, because there's something to show you, to worry about, to push against, to feel indignation about, to feel anger about. So when you decide that you want to be on your high-flying disc, it begins to cause you to look at things a little differently. And we really want you to leave this gathering today with a sort of renewed determination that you care about what disc you're on, and a new understanding that you have control about what disc you're on, and then a sort of readiness to begin practicing some very easy techniques to get you there and to keep you there, because life is supposed to feel good to you. You're supposed to be rendezvousing in powerful co-creative moments. You see, there is no way that we have seen that will restore you to your true sense of value and worth more than this understanding and accomplishing of this high-flying disc. Because when you stand in that vibrational frequency with source energy at your back, assisting you every step along the way, again and again all day long, you'll stand with a smile on your face, knowing the perfection of where you stand. You will realize that this is really who you are. This is who you are meant to be. And anything less than this is just not enough for you. And you can do it. It's not a difficult thing. So if you've been following us for a while, you've been reading books. We've written lots of them. Stuffed them full of processes, lots of them. And today we're going to offer to you a process that we want you to know trumps all of them. Doesn't render them ineffective. It's just the process of all processes, because it's the process that will accomplish the most for you. It will get the most done for you. It will put you in the strongest place of positive attraction, and it's the easiest thing to do. Sort of like a magic pill, it seems. But it will take your deliberate attention and your readiness to find resonance with who you are. Have we convinced you so far that you create your own reality? Have we convinced you so far that you live in a vibrational universe? Have we convinced you so far that your vibration matters? And have we convinced you that the better you feel, the higher flying you are, that the better your point of attraction is in terms of the more you will like what begins to manifest? So here's the process. When you wake up in the morning, that's your best opportunity to stay on the high flying disc, because you were on it when you woke up. Just like you were on the high flying disc when you were born, before you were oriented toward trouble. You're on that high flying disc when you wake up. And here's the reason. We're just going to give it to you in a very bold statement. While you slumber, your momentum of thought ceases. Now that doesn't mean that you can't wake up in the morning and pick up right where you left off. But if you don't do that, you have a better opportunity to find that high frequency. So we encouraged Esther to do it. It's been a few months now. We encouraged her, when you wake up, find a thought that feels good. And at first, just the pressure of finding a thought that felt good kept her from finding one. The first day, she didn't even make it until breakfast before she was soaring down some trajectory that she didn't mean to soar down. But we convinced her, and she was committed, that every day she would wake up and reach for the best feeling thought that she could. And she discovered that the more general the thoughts were, the easier they were to feel good. In other words, if you wake up and start pondering a problem, you're off your high-flying disc before you even realize that you're on it. But if you wake up and stay as general as you can, finding something that's very easy to appreciate, you sort of kind of have to ask your family or set your alarm a little early so that you have a little bit of private time before the world descends on you. Because the world is going to descend on you pretty much like it has been descending on you. And there is a momentum or a trajectory that's already been going. So we understand why it's a little difficult to begin changing your vibration in the middle of a stream, because there's a current already going. We really understand that. But we want you to know that first thing in the morning is your best opportunity to do it. Or after a nap, or after meditation. When you meditate, you stop your mind, you stop your thoughts, and when thoughts are stopped, then there's no resistance. And in that absence of resistance, we've been telling you for a while, it's like the cork bobbing on the surface of the water. You can hold it under the water. That's what negative emotion is. But when you let go of it, it's going to bob right back up there. And you are too. When you wake up, you're bobbing for a minute. You are. So if you can just wake up and hold that frequency by finding things as general as you can, it is our promise to you that momentum will begin to help you. You'll begin to feel the momentum until one thought will lead to another and another and another. Now, when you first begin this conversation is not all that satisfying, because we're encouraging you to a concept, to a time of day, to a deliberate focus, and to a result that we promise you will get. But the result will not be manifestational evidence for you for a while. So you're going to be applying this for the singular manifestational evidence of some good feeling emotion. In other words, you're going to be looking for the manifestation of relief. You're going to be looking for the manifestation of joy. Esther knew that she was there when one day she was doing something that was sort of awkward, and she ended up having to move a piece of furniture out and reach down for something that had fallen behind it, and she was laughing instead of swearing. She knew there was no frustration within her. She wasn't upset that it had fallen behind. She wasn't even upset at the person who had caused it to fall behind, the housekeeper. And she was enjoying the flexibility of her body and the ingenuity of fishing this impossible thing out from behind this very heavy piece of furniture. And she was laughing, and she thought, that's evidence that I am remaining on my high-flying disc. So what we want you to understand is that at first you won't know for sure, but if you will continue and continue and continue, eventually, we're talking about a few days, there will be enough momentum that there will be changes in the way the world is treating you. People who have been one personality will be different when they're with you, or they won't be with you at all. People that you're not used to rendezvousing with will begin rendezvousing with you. Everything in your life experience will change when your point of attraction changes. So that once you get 30 days of this under your belt, you will know for sure that's when we would love to have a conversation with you. That's when we really want to hear, not the subtle, but the vast differences in the way the world is treating you, the way the world is responding to you, the way your point of attraction is shifted. So we're going to give you a little precursor here, and then we're going to open to any conversation that you want. The first thing that happens once you begin to sustain this alignment on this high-flying disc, the first thing that happens is emotions manifest that feel good. That's really the first thing that you're going to be aware of. And we so like calling those emotions manifestations because they so are. The next thing that you're going to notice is thoughts will begin occurring to you. Ideas will begin flowing into your mind. You'll feel clarity instead of confusion. You'll feel sureness instead of sort of awkwardness. You'll begin to notice that you just feel better in the moment. The world will look better to you. And the reason for that, we're just going to tell you. You're going to have to practice it to know it, to feel it, to really know it. But we'll give you the words about it. The reason that you feel clear, the reason because things look better, is because you've achieved vibrational alignment with the source within you, and you're seeing the world through the eyes of source. You are now a blended being having this experience. You see what we're getting at? So people who are usually complaining won't show up so much in your life experience. And when they do, you won't feel inclined to help them beat the drum of what's going wrong. You're going to find and like your alignment. Esther said, I'm becoming a sort of vibrational snob. And she doesn't mean that she doesn't adore everyone. She just means that she likes so much feeling good that she really prefers to hold herself in a place that feels good. Now at first, when she slipped off this high-flying disc, the next thing she was angry at herself because she felt like she had jeopardized her alignment. And she said to us one day, Abraham, I refuse to accept that I have to wait all the way until tomorrow morning to get on my high-flying disc. You've given us enough processes that surely there's something that I can do. But she also discovered that it's really easier to wake up there and stay there than it is to climb back up there after you've fallen off. So we just want you to be easy on yourself. If you're having a bad day and someone says, what's wrong with you? Just say, I fell off the disc, okay? Okay? I fell off. And then don't continue the momentum. And you were there when it happened. I blame you. I was there till you came. Because that's not how it ever works, is it? So we are eager to talk with you about whatever is important to you. And we want you to know that like your inner being, we stand in your vortex where all that you are is. We stand there knowing the vibrational frequency of all that you have expanded to. Do you get how everything that you've been asking for has caused an expanded version of you, and that the only reason you ever feel bad is because you're in this moment not up to speed with the expanded version of you? And that everything that we've been talking about so far means that you can get up to speed with the expanded version of you, and that you're really going to like it when you do it. So we want you to realize that we know who you really are, what you really want, and we know where you are in relationship to it. And we know, and we're speaking on behalf of your inner being, we know what the path of least resistance is to get you there. We just want to help you practice the path of least resistance to who you really are, not the path of least resistance to what you don't want. And can you hear what we're saying? When you think a thought, and you think that thought, and you think that thought, and you think that thought until you're talking to other people about it, you get pretty strong momentum going. We like the analogy of you're at the top of a hill in San Francisco, and you've got your car perched right there on the hill, and the parking brake is off and it's out of gear, and you decide just for fun you'll see what happens if you just push the car a little. How strong am I actually? So you push the car a little bit and you begin to see it moving, and then you come to your senses because you can see that momentum is going to take it right down into the bay, and you don't really want that. And so before it gets started, you stand right out in front of it and you let it bump up against you, and all is well. But you wouldn't want to be standing at the bottom of that hill waiting for that momentum to meet you, would you? And so we want you to be aware of momentum. So let's say that you've been thinking about something that you don't want, and you've been thinking about it, you've been thinking about it, you've been thinking about it, and now it's kind of tearing you up, it's sort of eating you up. You can't stop thinking about it, you're really annoyed. Now you're talking to other people about it, and now you're looking online to see if there's any other people that are thinking about it. Now you're blogging about it, and now you have a website about what to do about that, and so you get this strong momentum going. Well, when you've got a strong momentum going, that's a path of least resistance. Law of attraction is bringing to you, by path of least resistance, what matches what your vibrational frequency is. Now, we want you to know that the true path of least resistance is this trajectory of well-being. It is overriding and underpinning everything you see. But if you've practiced yourself into a focus moment where you're having this sort of vibrational fit, where you're disallowing your awareness and your resonance with that trajectory, life can feel pretty hard to you. And so that's really what we want to help you to overcome in these hours that we're together. I want to show you how to mold your thoughts into vibrational alignment and resonance with who you really are. We've been watching Esther. She'll be doing a focus wheel or just writing statements of intent. And again, she will say, I can say that better. I can say that better. Even when someone else would read it, it would look pretty good. But Esther can feel that there's a little hidden agenda in it, or there's a little trying to overcompensate for something, a little too much efforting in it. And that's a true way for you to realize that that there's a little discord in your vibration. When you're trying too hard with your action, even if you're trying with action to think, does that sort of make sense? If you're struggling, there's resistance. So it's about ease and flow. You'll see as we play along today. So what do you want to talk about? You've come with some things that you want to talk about. You have, haven't you? Do not worry about your question not being answered fully, because it will be. We know everything that you want to know, and we know the path of least resistance to deliver it to you. What about that? So we'll have a sequential unfolding here where sometimes someone will present something that will make it easy for us to explain to you the very thing that you're looking for. So whether you get in the hot seat or not is not important. The important thing is that you're focused and that you are softly listening, not feeling anxious. So if you're standing up, if you're standing on your chair, if you're waving your hand, you're trying too hard, start right here.